Um, Hello. So, I was just talking about social isolation before I was interrupted by the need to bend down and pick up dog shit. So, not again. No, it's not. So, I live within walking distance to the Mediterranean Sea. That is a wonderful thing, and it's worth all the insanity of living in a city which has social isolation anyway. I was just thinking, reflecting. I reflect upon things even without emergencies. And it's just that now it's becoming more sharply, like my focus is more sharp. It's like when you have a camera, it's like my ability to focus is becoming much more sharp because I'm realizing things that I suspected were true are actually true. For instance, social isolation. How many people do you actually talk to? Let's say you live alone in the city. How many people say hello to you in the morning? I used to have like similar people because I used to always get out of the house at the same time. But now it's like almost none. And there's a pair of neighbors that we used to have conversations. Mostly he used to talk about his mother was ill when she was alive. And his partner I talked to sometimes was a quiet man. And now when I pass them by, they just run. They're on their way to run, to exercise. They do not stop and they do not ask. He has my WhatsApp address. Many times I've left him books. So what am I talking about? It's disappointment. Yes, it's the feeling of disappointment. That we really cannot achieve that our needs are not met, our social needs. I don't expect him to hug me. I don't expect him to care too much, but I did expect a courteous "How are you?" from 2 meters apart. And this man I've known for about 4 years. We've been neighbors. Lives a few buildings down. Used to have 2 dogs. I gave him a hug when the older dog died. I listened to him talk about his mother dying, his mother being ill. And he used to stop me in the street. And one time I said, I'm really tired of you stopping me in the street. Then he invited me for coffee. We had a talk. Me and his partner mostly. His partner usually walks the dog. Or his husband, actually. They're married to each other, these men. And I don't know. They're the closest I've come to having neighbors. With everybody else, I have one nice neighbor who has a pit bull. And we talk about animals a bit. Really tiny bit. But there's no... Like one day I came to tell him something and his whole apartment's full of young guys his age. Every time you see another woman coming in and out, it's a different age, a different type of energy as well. I never led that kind of life. I'm not judging, but I'm just saying, what are the odds that you actually meet somebody that you actually have something in common with, somebody you have enough in common with to actually have some sort of a bond? Okay, let's talk about other countries I lived in. So I lived in Switzerland. I had a neighbor downstairs. We talked about piano, an old German guy. We had very, very courteous, polite exchanges. His wife and me had a laundry fight because we had to share a washing machine. In Switzerland, you have a common washroom. And she threw all my wash on the floor one day because I didn't take it away instead of knocking on my door or leaving me a note. And then I did the same thing to her. And then she learned to respect me, never to do that again. And that's the kind of relationships I had. I had neighbors who called the police constantly, across the way from me about the dog barking. Then I had a next door neighbor who was struggling with mental problems. He was actually sent to Mongolia on a retreat. And we became really good friends. I gave him my exercise machine when I left. And he was like a good soul, I would say. A good soul. And I had a downstairs neighbor who had cancer, We became very good friends. I didn't know she died. Her daughter didn't let me know, but I had a good relationship with her daughter as well. Her daughter got pregnant when she was 16, and she had a 5-year-old. No, how old was he at the end? She was like, yeah, she was 25, and she had a 9-year-old, and then she had another husband. And we had a relationship somehow, and that's, I said hello, how is Elijah doing? Really sweet boy. And just, I often asked if he wants things, and when I left, I gave him my children's mattress he could have used, or toys, things, everything. I was just thinking, what can he use, this boy? What can I give them? The mother had a really good conversations. The mother had a really tough life. She also had a baby when she was about 16. Her husband left her for a younger woman. But when she was sick, this was the most beautiful relationship I've ever seen. When she was dying of cancer, it was really hard to watch. She was a chain smoker, by the way, and solidifies my belief that this virus is nothing compared to smoking, having had the same experience with my own father, who passed away quite young because he was smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day to overcome the stress of work. So this woman was a heavy smoker, even when she had cancer. And her husband used to come once a week. The Swiss guy used to come, pick her up in the car, take her shopping for groceries. And when I remember she was really thin, the father and the daughter carried her out for a walk in the sun. She was like really thin. I don't even remember her name anymore. But I remember she invited me to the kitchen and she shared with me a recipe. I don't remember what was it. Was it some sort of strudel or something she used to make for her child? Some sort of I wish I could remember what it was. I'll think and then I'll remember. Some sort of pastry she used to make for the kids. And she was such a sweet person. And we became really good friends. And just, I tried to say something nice to her. She used to watch the dog once a week I used to go to this international party. And she used to watch the dog. And yeah, I don't even remember what her name is. She was Italian origin. Sweet woman, Swiss Italian. And yeah, just really sad. And had another neighbor. Turned out she was a prostitute, recovering addict. And when it was Christmas time and I didn't want to celebrate Christmas, I wanted my kids to not celebrate Santa Claus. And I thought that Santa Claus is just a commercial bullshit, and the kids were really disappointed. She gave them she bought in the store these Christmas socks you can buy full of candy, and like a Christmas sock full of candy, and she gave them each 5 francs. And she was such a sweet woman, and she passed away. Also found out from one of her friends. She passed away really young. She was also a heavy smoker, heavy drug addict. She was a prostitute since the age of 16. So I think I've encountered a lot of injured souls. So maybe if I lived in a place where there were injured souls, I'd have friends. But these people that have so much abuse in their life were the best neighbors, because they overcame difficulties. And she was also the former prostitute was in rehabilitation, social rehabilitation. She found spirituality. She had a big Buddha in her living room. She loved animals. We connected through animals. She had a dog. I had a dog. I always wanted to come to the cemetery, but I never did. Monica was her name. So
why you fucking idiot?
Did you see this? This is going to be shown all over the world. Thank you. I'm sure in America is very happy you don't live there anymore. Yofi על הסמיילי, על המסכה. He has a smiley on his mask and he said, "You fucking idiot." Yeah. You know what? You see this? This is what you mean to me. You fucking idiot. Very nice. This is not social isolation, this is social violence. So I was just talking to you, and he wanted me not to pass him. So a lot of madness comes up these days. A lot of madness. Like, yeah, this man crosses the street. You could do that. You don't have to curse somebody. But that man chose another way. I'm a little bit upset, but a little bit not upset, because I'm so glad I'm not him. I would never curse somebody I don't know in the street. So I'm wondering what other adventures we're going to have on the way to the sea. So according to the new regulations, it's supposed to work 100 meters. So the man expected me with 2 dogs, twice his age, to move out of his way. Did you see the aggression? He had a choice. He could have crossed the street if he didn't want to pass me. He could have gone back. But instead of that, he passed by me, cursing me with his mask that had smileys, and called me a fucking idiot. I don't think he is American. I think he's an Israeli, but he thought I was American. In any case, I'm angry at myself for reacting. Going back to social isolation, as I recall the days before Corona, I felt very much alone in the city. I remember passing this coffee shop, running into a woman I know who lives alone with her sister. She doesn't have children. She used to sit here, smoke cigarettes, drink coffee, and read the newspaper. And not one time, for all the 4 years I've lived here, did she ever say, let's have a coffee. I asked her once, let's have a coffee once. Said, yeah. Never once did she actually make an appointment with me. Always negativity, always complaining about things. And what really struck to me is her insisting that there's no God. What a great life she had, and how she loved to spread negativity. So let me tell you, the point of this talk is becoming very clear. Negativity, hate, pessimism, and fear are much more contagious than the coronavirus. If only in an ideal world we would have rules and laws against negativity. If don't spread negativity, don't go out of your house. You feel bad, keep it to yourself. If only people were, including myself, I admit, only we had rules of how to behave with other human beings. So we have here a delivery man delivering food. I do not see a police car, so I am venturing more than 100 meters. I'm trying to think of a story if the police stops me. And my story is going to be simply that I'm going crazy and I need to see the sea. And that's my way of calming down. And the truth is always the best. Honesty is the best policy. I've always believed in that. I really am not very good at making up things, not making up lies. And I think it's good to be honest, as long as you don't harm others with your honesty. So I'm having a clash with that. Anyway, peace, light, and love. And here's a cute kid. Bye.